Yeah, it came to halves in some ways, really. I thought we were sublime in the first half, that we started positively, obviously scored early, and then we just had full control of the game. Thought both sides of the ball, thought we defended really well, and were pretty sharp with the ball. The second half, I thought was a bit loose. I thought they sort of made it a little bit scrappy in the second half, and we get line breaks, so don't quite, we pass forward and drop the ball on the line. So there's a couple of things there. I thought we could have easily run away with it, but it is what it is. Sometimes that happens. But I was just really pleased. Our attitude was great, pretty much for 80 minutes. I think we've got to get rid of captain's challenge. I just think it's detrimental to the game now. When fans are slow hand clapping, I think you've got to the point where I'd be asking a question about that. Of is it helping? It might be good in Australia when you've got 300 camera angles, but I think it's come to that point now where the fans don't enjoy it. If fans don't enjoy it, what you're doing, is it right for the game? I'd say it's probably not. So I think there needs to be a question asked on what's happening with that, because I think it's frustrating absolutely everybody in the sport, and that is not a good thing to happen, I don't think.
That first 40 minutes, I know you're always looking for perfection. Was it close to 10 out of 10?
I think so. Yeah, I thought towards the end we just got a little bit overexcited, but the team's in a flow and it's going well. And whilst you want it to be perfect, the game isn't perfect, is it? And I think for us, that's probably as good a half as we've played all year. So and that, you always, I've been through that so many times where your team's flying at half time and you try your best to sort of raise this is what could happen, but I'm not sure I've ever been able to do it. And I think it's just some kind of human nature really that takes over, and the opposition start to do things a little bit differently, which I thought they did. I thought they got up a little bit further, and I don't think we handled that well on their try line, but it's a really pleasing win. That I think it was a big a game for both teams. They needed to win it probably a little bit more than us, if I'm honest. But I thought we showed more will to win the game, which was really pleasing.
I'm just going to mention intensity, speed, energy levels. Must have been delighted with all those things. Yeah,
I thought it was a real drive about us. I thought we were really physical when we didn't have the ball, and you needed to be. They brought all those. They had the biggest bench ever, didn't they? And we had to deal with that. And I thought the most offloads in the comp, and we shut them down pretty much all game. In fact, I thought our offload game caused them no end of trouble. So it was kind of a flip of the coin, really. That. So I just thought, our energy and attitude were both exemplary. I think we know what we are as a team. We know where we're at and what we can do. I think there's a chance we could just keep getting better. Some challenges coming up. We know this next period starting today. Hull, Huddersfield, Leeds. We know that those 4 games are going to be pivotal to our season, and today's started that off in a really positive way.
You mentioned their size. It was good to have McMeekin and Hamlin back today.
Well, there's no surprises that we've been small. I think it's been real tough that we haven't had some of our bigger players out there on the field. Mike and Caleb come back today, and I thought both were outstanding. And Caleb's responsible for some of those offloads in particular. I thought he was strong in that area. So it allowed us to bring Caius off the bench, and his armful coming from the bench. So having Tommy Doyle back as well gives us more options, which is something that we haven't really had. So it was great to see those boys back out there.
And Hull have lost today, so you're back in the 6 again now. Is there any limits on how far this team can go, do you think?
Well, no, look, I think this is a journey for us, isn't it? I mean, we're at the start of our journey. We're in a good position. We're probably in a better position than anybody apart from us thought we were going to be. So it's continuing to be consistent. I think we've been pretty good, really. I think particularly with what's happened to us from an injury perspective. And yeah, we know that'll be a challenge going away to Hull. Go and put them under pressure. They've had it tough at home. We want to make it even tougher for them, but that'll be a challenge. They beat us here in a pretty tight game, so we know how durable and tough they are, and we'll need to play well. So you just keep on being consistent. Obviously, that's a key game next week. They're similar to today. I think they'll see it the same way. So be an important game for us.
Just last one from me. Could Jake Truman be back for that game?
I don't think he'll play next week. I think it's too early. If it was a couple of days later, I think he would have been all right. But I don't think he'll play next week. So although we've got what we've got, Max playing in the halves and Rock obviously had a pretty good game today. So we're feeling all right with what we've got. Obviously, True is sort of the icing on the cake for us. He makes certain things happen, and but I don't think he'll be there next week.
That's about Corey Hall, though. He's been around a few clubs, he's still on 22 here, but you think he's really finding his feet now and showing some of what he could really do?
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I think we signed him feeling like he had a high ceiling, but that hadn't quite been reached yet, and he's worked hard. He's been outstanding for us, I think, and he's just growing all the time. I think his confidence levels are growing. I think he's a confidence player, and when he has got confidence, then he's a real challenge for the opposition. So it's been good to see him grow. Yeah, I think he's getting better.
Just on the captain's challenge stuff, before it was introduced into Super, were you an advocate of it coming in, because it's been in here and out for a few years, I think so? Were you sort of keen to see it come in before it was introduced?
Well, the one thing I thought it would do was put referees on notice, really, that they had to get the decisions right, but I just think it takes too long. It's not functional. The technology is, as I've spoken about all year, it's not great, and I'm not blaming the sport for that, because we haven't got the money in the sport, but it's really is. If you're getting slow hand claps, you know that something isn't right, and that is, if you go to every ground and you look at how long it's taking, and then you start coming up with inconclusives and you keep it, then you can have 5 or 6 of them, and I haven't timed them, but I'd fallen asleep by the time they've finished. That's probably why I haven't timed them. I just think it is. I don't think anybody likes it. I don't think the referees like it. I don't think players like it. I don't think fans like it. So coaches certainly, I'd say, don't like the way it's going at the moment. So if you've got something like that in your sport, why are you keeping it if it's not healthy for the sport? And I think that's where it's at right now.
Sam Burgess said a couple of times that games are taking 2 hours from first whistle to last. I mean, that's too long, isn't it? Well, no matter when the kick-off is.
Yeah, I've had that quite a few times. I'm getting on 1 o'clock in the morning at times. It's just too long. I'm not bothered about that. I just think if it's beneficial for the sport, then fair enough. But I don't think it is. I thought they got a couple wrong today as well. So it's nonsense, really. You're looking. You ain't got the camera angles, to be honest. Let the referees do the job. I just think until we have got the technology, I just think it needs to go.
Daryl, biggest attendance here since 2013. It was bouncing today, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the last 2 home games. The Wigan game here was I was electric. I think Matty Pete alluded to the start of the game and what it feels like when you walk out. I think it's something the club's doing really well. The showcasing an event, really. The games, good crowd, obviously a bit of a promotion, and get some new fans in. I think that's important. And I just love it when they get up and stand up if you love the train, and what that feels like. As a real glow about the place, which I really like. I think the players are feeding off the fans at the moment. The fans are feeding off the players, and I said it last time. You don't need to do something for these guys to give you something, and I think it's pretty special when you've got that.
Just on Max, Daryl obviously played 6 today, but he's a fullback, overlooked for England, considering the Jack Wellesley injury and the lack of fullbacks. You think that surprised you that he didn't get in that squad?
Yeah. Well, he hasn't played as much fullback this year, which has probably been tough on him, really, with Truey been missing for quite a while. Whether that's had an impact, I don't know, or whether Sean Wayne doesn't quite see Max in that sort of territory. But he's got that potential to play, and we're fortunate we've got two fullbacks. I mean, Josh Rock goes and gets man of the match today, and they've both got such different skill sets, but both outstanding at what they do. So yeah, I'd imagine he gets playing regular at fullback, then he'd certainly challenge at that level. So who knows what's going to happen the rest of the year? It's pretty hard to take Josh Rock out of the team at the moment, just doing things like that. But we've got great competition. When everybody's fit, we've got unbelievable competition. We've got great depth, and they're both quality players. And Max is certainly, improving every week he's playing. To be honest.
Well, just in terms of Catalans being out of the playoff picture, not mathematically, but it's not looking good for them. But where you are, does that encourage over Wake you can go on and finish inside that top six this season?
Yeah, I think so. We're in a good position, aren't we? I think it looks like 6 from 7 now. I would say it's pretty tight, or 6 from 8 maybe. So it's tight, and for us, I think just not worry about it too much at the minute. We spoke about it. We know where it's at, and the players are just cracking on. We break the season down into blocks anyway, so they know what they've got to do. I think we're in a good position to do that, but there's a lot of water to go under the bridge and a lot of tough challenges. So you just keep picking games off, and if we keep playing like we did in the first half, then I think we'll be pretty tough to beat.
There's obviously been a lot of ambition shown under Matt, hasn't there? Look at like what Catalans spend. They probably spend a small fortune. Where would you put Wakefield down in terms of spending? Over 12 clubs.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine that stuff's sort of easy to get hold of. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, there's all sorts of different exemptions and that sort of stuff. France would be, that'd be harder to get it over there. I don't know, but look, we've signed some good quality players. We've still got some ability to spend on the cap if we needed, but at the moment I think we're in a pretty good place. So probably a question for Mills at that, I reckon.